Dr. Jaykumar. And at the outset, I would like to express my deep appreciation for the Alumni Association of the Department of Statistics for organizing a series of lectures on different themes, and also very ambitious programs that are being planned by the association. And also, I would like to express my thanks to the office bearers of the Alumni Association for inviting me to have an inaugural talk in this series of lectures. Let me tell you at the outset again that this is a talk on a topic that is dear to all of us. And it is based on my long experience in the University of Calicut, as well as several other premier institutions in this country and abroad. And also this would be just a travel, rather a bird's eye view of what is happening in this subject, statistics, and what is the current status, and what are the changes that we witness right now, and how well we can go about. I would like to dedicate this talk to the founder professor of the Department of Statistics, Professor K. Kumarankutti, and also all my colleagues, and also all my dear students. The statistics, the science of uncertainty and data, is the topic that I suggested. So a brief outline is following. First introduction, then we will look at why do we need the probability theory, and why the statistics is the science of uncertainty, and also the data, in ubiquitous data, everywhere you find data. So we will spend some time on that, and the power and impact of statistics, and followed by the big data challenges. And nowadays, everyone is fascinated by these big data issues, and certainly some other important topics of interest. And I would spend some time on the administrative statistics, official statistics, and also now it is data science and being a hot topic, how it is different to statistics. And at the same time, a lot of students are having some kind of feeling, or rather a fear towards statistics. So the statistics anxiety, that it's a terminology nowadays. And with the different changes that has happened in this time, up to this time, how the development of statistical science, now we have a lot of interesting areas, and certainly we will look at our own legacy, and thereby what are the influential areas and new environment now. And I will conclude how we can enhance the power of statistics. So let us start with uncertainty. Uncertainty is all around us. We can't expect certainty, but uncertainty can often be quantified. That is, we can talk about the degrees of uncertainty or certainty. So this is the idea of probability, right? A higher probability expresses a high degree of certainty that something will happen. So statistical techniques are designed to help us understand areas where uncertainty is present and can be quantified. So most statistical techniques are based on probability. If you look at the wordings of Edward Deming, a pioneer in the use of statistics in industry, he said, it is his knowledge and use of the theory of probability that distinguishes the statistician. So statistician has the knowledge and the use of theory of probability, and that is what distinguishes the statistician from the expert in chemistry, agricultural, bacteriology, medicine, production, consumer, research, engineering, or anything else. So let me expand this idea. So statistics is a discipline that studies the best ways of dealing with the randomness, or more precisely and broadly, variation. Okay, so randomness and variation are the two terms. As human beings, we tend to love information, but we hate uncertainty, especially when we need to make decisions. Now, the information and uncertainty, however, are actually two sides of the same coin. For instance, if I ask you to go to the airport to pick up my guest you have never met, I will give you some description. My description of him is information only, because there are variations. So if anyone at the airport looks identical, my description has no value. On the other hand, the same variation causes the uncertainty. Now, the statistical techniques, what about the statistical techniques? Statistical techniques can't eliminate uncertainty, but can help us gain some knowledge despite it. They can help us see patterns through it and help us quantify the certainty or uncertainty. Let me cite a particular instance. For instance, the theory of evolution. You know, biologists are in general agreement with regard to its essential correctness. But the evidence marshaled in favor of evolution is quite unlike the kind of evidence used in mathematics or physics. So there is no way to prove that evolution is correct in mathematical sense. The arguments that support it consist of, maybe to borrow the title of one of the Poilievre books, you must have heard of this Poilievre books, volume 1 or volume 2, different patterns. So patterns of, the name of the book is the Patterns of Plausible Inference. So the volume 2, that is the volume 2. So along with the careful consideration of the alternative hypothesis. So in effect, biologists say we have mountains of evidence. So this is the way they have a reference, and then this is what the botany students, the researchers, they do to identify a specific plant. So we have mountains of evidence that are consistent with the theory, broadly construed. There is no clear evidence that falsifies the proposed theory, and no rival hypotheses meet the same criteria. So obviously there are several common mistakes and misuse of statistics. So common mistakes arising from not taking uncertainty seriously enough. There are very grave mistakes really. So authors often write results in terms that misleadingly suggest certainty. I will tell you, for example, some authors might have concluded from a study that a hypothesis is true or has been proved, when it would be more correct to say that the evidence supports the hypothesis or is consistent with the hypothesis. Quite often, so several of our friends would be doing in other areas, right? In experimental, for instance, in other sciences. Now, another consequence is or rather interpretation. Really, they are misinterpreting the results of statistical analysis in a deterministic rather than probabilistic. So always there is a cautionary measure, but they ignore that, and they will deterministically say that. So the subject is said to have prompted. In fact, this is the, you know that statistics is a subject. Statistics is said to have prompted Disraeli to quote as a witty remark, there are three sorts of lies: damned lies, and statistics. Is nevertheless, you know that it's an essential tool in science, industry, commerce, and other fields. So those who are doing with the statistics has to be very careful about what they are doing. Now, if you look at the probability, it's a measure of uncertainty. So this is it's a mathematical language of certain uncertainty, measuring uncertainties, right? It is measuring uncertainty. So often in life, we are confronted by our own ignorance. In fact, the probability provides precise mathematical rules for understanding and analyzing our own ignorance. So it does not tell us tomorrow's weather or next week's stock prices. Rather, it gives us a framework for working with our limited knowledge and for making sensible decisions based on what we do and do not know, right? So what we know and what we do not know. To say there is 40% chance of rain tomorrow is not to know tomorrow's weather, right? Rather, it is to know what we do not know about tomorrow's weather. Now, probability theory comes up very often in our daily lives, right? So for instance, suppose I'm taking an example now. Suppose we are considering buying a Lotto 6/49 lottery ticket. You know that in European countries, you will see that as soon as we finished finishing our purchase, at the checkout counter, there would be a long queue. Many people would be taking this lottery and filling that. This would be a kind of a 7/7 square, wherein there would be numbers from 1 to 49, right? You got that now? So this is a kind of a lottery. So in this lottery, what is to be done is you have to pick 6 distinct integers. So between 1 and 46. So if it is a 6/49, you have to pick 6 distinct integers between 1 and 49. Okay. So what the lottery company does, another 6 distinct integers between 1 and 49 are then selected at random by the lottery company. Okay. So what is the method now? If the 2 sets of 6 integers are identical, then you will win the jackpot. Okay, so this is the idea behind the jackpot. Let me take your attention to this. Now, after mastering probability theory, right? Suppose if you can see that a lot of people are running after this jackpot, but as all in this group, all are very familiar with the probability theory. I'm quite sure that you will not go after this jackpot. I will tell you what is the reason. So after mastering probability theory, you will know how to calculate the probability of the 2 sets matching. You can see that this matching probability is equal to 1 chance in 1,39,083. 39,83,816. That is approximately 14 million. Approximately 14. So 1 in 14 million. So that is about 40 million times more likely that you will not win the jackpot than you will. Got it? I hope you get this point. So these are not very good odds. Okay. Now, suppose the lottery ticket costs ₹1. Just imagine. Now, you have learned expectation, right? Expectation. So after mastering expected values, you will know that you should not even consider buying a lottery ticket unless the jackpot is more than 14 million, right? So it usually is not. Don't expect 40 million as the jackpot. So it is not a good idea to buy the ticket. Furthermore, if the jackpot is ever more than 14 million, then it is likely many people, other people will buy lottery tickets that week, leading to a larger probability that you will have to share the jackpot with the other winners. Sometimes the tie-up would be there, right? So then in that case also, even if you do win, so it is probably not in your favor to buy a lottery ticket even then. Okay. And now I will take another instance. Suppose a friend offers you a bet. Okay. So this is the game. He has 3 cards. 1 red on both sides. Okay. 1 black on both sides. And another one red on one side and the black on the other side. I hope you get it now, right? Now, he mixes the 3 cards in a hat and picks one at random and places in flat on the table with only one side showing. Okay. So now, suppose that one side is red. He then offers to bet his ₹4 against your ₹3 that the other side of the card is also red. Okay. So what would be your opinion? Now, at first you might think that as a layman, at the layman point of view, it sounds like the probability that the other side is also red is 50%. That's a good bet. But however, after mastering the conditional probability, you will know that conditional on one side being red, the conditional probability that the other side is also red is equal to 2/3. Okay. So by the theory of expected values, you will know that you should not accept your friend's bet. Finally, suppose your friend suggests that you flip a coin 1,000 times. And your friend says, if the coin comes up heads at least 600 times, then he will pay you ₹10. Otherwise, you will have to pay him just ₹1. Obviously, you will be tempted to join this bet, right? So what does he do? He flips the coin 1,000 times. Okay, if the coin comes up head at least 600 times, then he will pay you ₹10. Otherwise, you will have to pay him just ₹1. You'll be losing just ₹1, but you will get ₹100 if the number of heads is exceeding 600. Okay, so at first you might think that while 500 heads is the most likely, there is still a reasonable chance that 60 heads will appear. At least good enough to justify accepting your friend's ₹100 to ₹1. You'll be just losing ₹1. But however, after mastering the law of large numbers, okay, recall law of large numbers, you will know that as the number of coin flips gets large, it becomes more and more likely that the number of heads is very close to half the total number of coin flips. In fact, in this case, if you compute the probability, there is less than 1 chance in 10 billion of getting more than 600 heads. Just imagine, less than 1 chance in 10 billion in getting more than 600 heads. Therefore, the advice is that you should not accept his bet either. So all these examples show a good understanding of probability theory will allow you to correctly assess the probabilities in everyday situations, which will in turn allow you to make wiser decisions. Even it might save some money also. So probability theory also plays a key role in many important applications of science and technology. We are using probability every day in our lives to assess risk also. Okay, risk involving, for instance, the commissioning of a it's a reactor, for instance, radioactive, and some hazardous equipments. So there are several risks involved. And in fact, the insurance industry has been developed to help us cope with the risk. The probability is the tool used to determine what you pay to reduce your risk or to compensate or your family, you or your family, in case of a personal injury or death. So probability is a mathematical language used to discuss uncertain events, and probability plays a key role in statistics. Now, the word statistics, let me quote the definition from the American Heritage Dictionary. It says, mathematics of the collection, organization, and interpretation of numerical data, especially the analysis of population characteristics by inference from sampling. In fact, you will get the now the meaning. This is encompassing almost all activities in statistics: the collection, organization, interpretation of numerical data, especially the analysis of population characteristics by inference from sampling. So statisticians collect and analyze the data, then calculate the results using a specific design. And they draw conclusions and make decisions in the face of uncertainty. And also, it is very interesting to look at the way Tukey, in the author of the book Exploratory Data Analysis in 1977, remarked about the statistics. He said statistics is doing a numerical detective work. In fact, it is, because it is examining, cross-examining, and finding out very crucial information that are hidden in the data, right? So that is the numerical detective work. Now, why is study statistics? We collecting the data on subsets of the population can give valid information about the whole population, and knowing what has happened in the past can help answer questions about the present and future. And also, knowledge helps future plans, future tests, plan future tests, determine resources allocation, and improves the quality. So this is the, there are, what do generally statisticians do? They study the safety of nuclear power plants. evaluate the environmental impact of pollution, determine the effectiveness of new drugs, estimate the unemployment rate, analyze the consumer demand for products, plan and analyze agricultural experiments. And several areas where statistics are used, you can see physical, ranging from the physical sciences, environmental science, then government, especially census, law, national defense, then health and medicine, very important area, and business, including economics, engineering, marketing, and computer science. So if you look at the degree that one gets, degree in statistics, there is a value. Now, mathematics is the language of physical sciences and economics and finance, and generally called as a queen of sciences. In fact, statistics pervades all sciences and commerce. So it should be called the king of sciences. Now, statistics can be most succinctly described as the science of uncertainty. Very, very collectively, we can call this as the science of uncertainty. Let me clarify this point. While the words statistics and data are often used interchangeably by the public, statistics actually goes far beyond the mere accumulation of data. The role of a statistician is, after all, to design the acquisition of data in a way that minimizes bias and confounding factors and maximizes information content. Also, to verify the quality of the data after it is collected, to analyze the data in a way that produces insight or information to support decision making. Now, these processes always take into explicit account the stochastic uncertainty present in any real-world measuring processes, as well as the systematic uncertainties that may be introduced by the experimental design. So this recognition is an inherent characteristic of statistics, and this is why we describe it as the science of uncertainty rather than the science of data. Now, if you look at the data omnipresent, it's ubiquitous in the 21st century society. Our government, our commerce. So for this reason, statisticians can point to many ways in which their work has made a difference to the rest of the world. However, the very usefulness of statistics has worked some ways as an obstacle to public recognition. Everyone is using that. Everyone is well versed that now. So the usefulness of statistics has worked in some ways. So as an this is some ways as an obstacle to the public recognition. Now, scientists and executives tend to think of statistics as infrastructure, and like other kinds of infrastructure, it does not get enough credit for the role it plays. So, statisticians has a very greater role to play with, to enthuse others, to make awareness about the power and impact of statistics. So statisticians, with some prominent exceptions, also have been unwilling or unable to communicate the rest of the world the value and the excitement of their work. So let us recall and share the power and impact of statistics with everyone in and outside the discipline, and to enthuse others telling our success stories in statistics. You may be recalling there are various avenues and occasions we had earlier in the past, and also, for instance, the National Statistics Day. In fact, it is coming in the next 29th of June, and the International Year of Statistics, that's known Statistics 2013, and the World Statistics Day. So we have been doing or telling others, sharing the power and impact of statistics. Now, these success stories, and also these success stories are certainly several. Many others could have been told, but it is hoped that they are at least representative, and I will include some of the important success stories. For instance, the development of the randomized control trial methodology. I'm sure you will be very much aware of the current clinical trials happening with regard to the COVID-19, right? the development of the randomized controlled trial methodology and the appropriate methods for evaluating such trials, which are a required part of the drug development process in many countries. And another development is the application of the Bayesian statistics to image processing, object recognition, speech recognition, and even very uninteresting applications such as spell checking. And the explosive spread of the Markov chain Monte Carlo method using statistical physics, population modeling, numerous other applications to simulate uncertainty that are not distributed according to one of the simple textbook models. So that is possible nowadays. Earlier, it was not possible. So with the advent of MCMC methods, now we are being able to cater with the several applications areas, especially to simulate uncertainties that are not distributed according to the common statistical models. Now, the involvement of statistics in many high-profile court cases over the years, that is another area. When a defendant is accused of a crime because of the extraordinary unlikelihood of some chain of events, it often falls to statisticians to determine whether these claims hold water. So statistics is used now in the judiciary very much. Now, the discovery through statistical methods of biomarkers, the genes that confer an increased or decreased the risk of certain kinds of cancer. And not only for this, even in the COVID case also. So this is the identification of the biomarkers is a very important one. So the discovery through statistical methods. So statistics is very heavily used in identification of the specific genes that confer an increased or decreased the risk of certain kinds of diseases or here kinds of cancer. So a method called trigging that enables scientists to interpolate a smooth distribution of some quantity of interest from sparse measurements. So Kriging is what we mean by Kriging is it is very often applied in geostatistics. It is in fact a Gaussian process regression rather. It's a method of interpolation for which the interpolated values are modeled by Gaussian process governed by some prior covariance matrices. So this is what is known as a Kriging, and now people are applying this Kriging in different fields, including mining, meteorology, agricultural, and astronomy. So the rise in recent years of analytics in sports and politics. Don't think that these are all new, but now the application comes in sports and politics, then they get some attraction, right? So in some cases, the methods involved are not particularly novel, but what is new is the recognition by stakeholders, especially the sports managers and politicians, of the value that, so now they lately identified the value of statistics, the value that objective statistical analysis can add to the data. So opinion survey, for instance, what about pre-poll, post-poll surveys? Okay, so these are all some success stories really where the statistics could be employed. Now the rise of big data, undoubtedly the greatest challenge and the opportunity that confronts today's statisticians is the rise of big data. Databases on human genome, the human brain, internet commerce, or social networks, just to name a few, that dwarfs in size any databases statisticians encountered in the past. So certainly the big data is a challenge owing to several reasons. For instance, let me just list out important ones. First is the problems of scale. You know, many particular algorithms for statistical analysis do not scale up very well and run hopelessly slowly on terabyte scale data sets. So statisticians either need to improve the algorithms or design new ones that trade off the theoretical accuracy for speed. So that was the problem. Now, different kinds of data. Big data are not only big, they are complex and they come in different forms from what statisticians are used to. For instance, images, or networks. So the kind of data, different kinds of data we get. So how to deal with them? Now, the look everywhere effect, that is the third one. As scientists move from a hypothesis-driven to a data-driven approach, the number of spurious findings. Example, the genes that appear to be connected to a disease but really aren't. So this is highly misleading sometimes. So is guaranteed to increase unless specific precautions are taken. So this is also another important issue. Now the privacy and the confidentiality. This is probably the area of greatest public concern. Often comes in the newspapers about whenever some kind of a data generation mechanism is in. So about this is a very important public concern, greatest public concern about the big data, and the statisticians cannot afford to ignore it. So data can be anonymized to protect personal information, but there is no such thing as perfect security. You know that even though we are especially there were different issues even in the database concerning our students, especially in the universities. So even if it is anonymous, but you cannot guarantee the perfect privacy, no, and also confidentiality. Now the reinventing the wheel. Don't think that these are all new things, right? So some of the collectors of big data, notably web companies, may not realize that statisticians have generations of experience at getting information out of data, as well as avoiding common fallacies. So what is there already, it may be a reinvention of the same thing, right? So some statisticians resent the new term data science. Others feel one should accept the reality that data science is here and focus on ensuring that it includes training in statistics. So the data science is the resultant of the change happened in statistics because of the influence of computing technology and everything, right? So big data is not the only current trend, and indeed there is a minority sentiment that it is an overhyped topic that will eventually fail. But this is a reality now. And also the reproducibility of scientific research. Of course, there are several other topics of interest. Now, a major thrust is on, for instance, the reproducibility of scientific research, especially those attend the young researchers attending this particular talk should take special care here. So opinions vary widely on the extent of the problem, but many discoveries that make it into print are undoubtedly spurious. Several major scientific journals are requiring or encouraging authors to document the statistical methods in a way that would allow others to reproduce the analysis. Okay, so whatever you produce, so any method that you suggest there, so you must allow others to reproduce the analysis and get the result. Okay, so the reproducibility of the scientific research is an important topic now of interest. And another is the statistics of climate change. A lot of important job opportunities and research opportunities in this area. So why this is important? This is one area of science that is begging for more statisticians. Climate models do not explicitly incorporate uncertainty. So the uncertainty has to be simulated by running them. That is the problem. So the conventional climate model is not incorporating uncertainty. So what we have to do is uncertainty has to be, of course there are uncertainty. So the prevalent uncertainty has to be simulated by running them repeatedly with slightly different conditions. So this is again a challenge and a very fascinating area to do research. And updates to the randomized controlled trial. I just mentioned about the RCT earlier. The traditional RCT is expensive and lacks flexibility, of course. But adaptive designs and the smart trials, these are the two concepts now, are two modifications that have been given promising results, but work still needs to be done to convince clinicians that they can trust innovative methods in place of the tried and true RCT. So it is maybe slowly going to replace the adaptive designs as well as the small trials may slowly replace the tried the true RCT. Now the statistics and other new venues are there. For instance, how new data capture methods and the statistical analysis are improving or will improve our understanding of the public diet. And already UN has started a project on that, use of probabilistic rather than deterministic population projections being experimented by the UN. Now the communication and visualization, the internet and the multimedia give statisticians new opportunities to take their work directly to the public. Okay. See, some of the role models include the Nate Silver. He's an American, and also Andrew Gelman. These people are Mark Hansen. These are all American statisticians, right? But why they are well known? Some of them are journalists. Okay. For instance, Nate Silver, he worked for the ABC News, and he only predicted the win of the American presidents in United States. Even the Biden prediction was perfect. So the Nate Silver, I remember he graduated, studied in Chicago. That's what I remember from University of Chicago. So these are all statisticians. Now, what I want to say is that we have a new attraction here, the communication and the visualization. So the internet and the multimedia gives statisticians new opportunities, certainly. Okay, so, and education. Now, how well we should concentrate on this particular area, education. You know that with the advent of the booming interest on data science now in several universities, the boards of studies were thinking about how to change the curriculum, right? So the curriculum needs to be re-evaluated and perhaps updated to make graduates more competitive in the workplace. And opinions vary as to whether something needs to be sacrificed to make way for computer science, or some computer science knowledge is required and a type material, and if so, what should be sacrificed? What part of statistics core subjects could be replaced? So these are all very critical, very crucial issues when we think about the statistical education. So to sum up what I have just now remarked, the view of statistics that emerged now is one of a field that after 3 centuries is as healthy as it ever has been, with a very robust growth in student enrollment, abundant new sources of data, and challenging problems to solve over the next century. Now, we are now witnessing several interest in the official statistics system. And I would like to tell you that this is going to be another pillar in statistics on which our administrative statistics and other related to the government are lying. So the administrative statistics refers to information collected primarily for administrative purposes. And I'm sure certainly many of the listeners in this group are involved in the administrative statistics. So this type of data is collected by government departments and other organizations for the purpose of registration, transaction, and record keeping, usually during the delivery of a service. So it is defined as the set of activities involved in the collection, processing, storage, and dissemination of statistical data from one or more administrative sources. So anything of this sort can be called as an administrative statistics. So the main sources of statistics in India, as elsewhere, is administrative statistics and other important sources, namely censuses and sample surveys. You can see the census and sample surveys are the main sources. Now, the administrative statistics are very much needed for effective planning of census and sample surveys. The state of the Indian statistical system thus depends largely on the state of functioning of the administrative statistical system. And each student of statistics should note that there is a Collection of Statistics Act 2012 passed in the Parliament. And Act 2, this is an act really. So all students of statistics should know there is a Collection of Statistics Act in 2008. You can just Google it and see what are the provisions there, right? In what kind of data could be collected, and what are you supposed to do with the data, and the privacy policy and the confidentiality and all those things. An act, this is generally an act to facilitate the collection of statistics on economic, demographic, social, scientific, environmental aspects, and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. So this is what is called as the collection of statistics. In fact, there was an earlier version of the act and it got amended in 2008. Now, there are different examples. You can see administrative statistics, for instance, the foreign trade statistics, right? That is customs data. Income statistics is a taxation data, right? And the social statistics, you can see, that is why I'm saying that this is going to be another pillar. It's a very vast area of statistics now. So social statistics, the registration of public services, and we have the unemployment registration. So that's the employment statistics. So we have the registration of students, the education statistics, and the medical registration, the health statistics, and the judicial registration is the criminal statistics. And we have the enterprise registers, and that is the business statistics. So these are administrative, all coming under administrative statistics. Okay, so now I have just mentioned about the emergence of the data science. And then many students asked, what is the difference between the data science and statistics? Okay, let me spend some time on this. Not long ago, the term data science meant nothing to most people, even to those who work with the data. It was data science. A likely response to the term was, isn't that just statistics? Because when you look at this word data science, you have the data is there and that's a science. So these days, data science is hot. You may recall the Harvard Business Review and the Harvard University remarked or called or named the profession of data scientist as the sexiest job of the 21st century, the hottest job of the 21st century. So this is also very important. And the very first line of the American, let me just elaborate this point. The data science, the very first line of the American Statistical Association definition of statistics, you can see it is a statistics is the science of learning from the data. Okay, so given that the word data and science appear in the definition, one might assume that data science is just a rebranding of statistics. So that is why many people asked, is it not the same as statistics? Because data science, the definition of statistics says the science of learning from the data. So learning from the science of learning from the data. So it's a data is there, science is there, right? So it is the same as the data science. Statistics and data science are the same. Okay, but while there is a grain of truth in these jokes, the reality is really more complicated. Okay, but at this point of time, I would like to take your attention to this definition. Statistics is a science of learning from the data. So you underline this word learning. You catch this word learning. So it is a science of learning from the data. Okay, now soon I will tell you what is the data science. So data science and its differentiation from statistics has deep roots in the history of computers. So the influence of computing has changed statistics, right? So let us look at what is that. The statistics was primarily developed to help people deal with the pre-computer data problems like testing the impact of fertilizer in agriculture or figuring out the accuracy of an estimate from a small sample. So data science emphasizes emphasizes the data problems of the 21st century, like accessing information from large databases, writing codes to manipulate data, and visualizing data. So this is giving a real picture of the data science, the activities in the data science. It emphasizes the data problems of the 21st century, like accessing information from large databases. Okay, you can get the difference from what we were doing in statistics. Now accessing information from large databases. We were also accessing information from the databases, but the change is there, right? Now writing codes to manipulate data. So technology advancement has taken place. So writing code to manipulate data and visualizing the data, right? So only visualization will interest you. The model may not interest you, but visualization may surprise you sometimes. So the arrival of personal computer revolutionized the access to data and our ability to manipulate data. So it can be argued that data science is simply a response to this new technology. So this is what I would like to mention about the data science. So the arrival of personal computer and maybe technology revolutionized the access to data and our ability to manipulate the data. So the data science is simply a response to this new technology. Okay. Now, if you look at the contribution of the computer science people, the term data science first appeared prominently in the legendary computer scientist, the Peter Noss 1974 book. These are available in our library also, Concise Survey of Computer Methods. So in this book, Noss defines data science as the science of dealing with the data. So this is the best way you can distinguish with the statistics, the science of dealing with the data. Okay, so data science was not just analyzing, the data science was not just about analyzing the data, which is the bread and butter of classical statistics, but about dealing with it. Okay, so you can now distinguish between the American Statistical Association definition. It is a science of learning from the data. Now it is a science of dealing with the data. So you make a contrast between the learning from the data and dealing with the data. So what is the dealing here? In Noss' book, the dealing with the data includes all of the cleaning, the processing, storing, and manipulating the data that happens before the data is analyzed and the subsequent analysis. Okay, I think this is enough to distinguish between the statistics and the data science. It is the learning from the data, and now it's dealing with the data. So how do we deal with the data? So the dealing of the data with the data includes the cleaning. So you will get the idea now why the data mining is used in the data science. Then machine learning, right? We are using that. So several important neural networks and all those techniques are employed in the data science. So this is the purpose, and manipulating data. Okay, so the term data science did not catch on from the newest usage in 1980s. There was until 1990s. After 1990, an innovative community of people who used computers to deal with data blossomed. So that is the way we have the data science, the development of data science. So groups like the International Association for Statistical Computing and others came up with the new ways to use computers to find meaning in data. So certainly what prompted these innovations? First, people needed to work with data sets, which we now call big data. So larger than pre-computational statisticians could have imagined, right? So second, the industry focused more on marketing predictions about markets. Data-driven decisions are very much warranted now. So customer behavior and more for commercial uses. So inventors of data science borrowed from statistics, the machine learning, and the database management. Okay. Now we have a new sets of tools for working with this data. But statistics, on the other hand, has not changed significantly in response to the new technology. And then the so-called data science got developed in that way. But precisely, they are the same, right? So the field continues to emphasize theory, and the introductory statistics courses focus more on hypothesis testing than the statistical computing. And also, you may note that many universities now have data science departments in addition to the statistics departments. The statistics departments are still there, but in addition to that, there are programs in the same department. You can see programs in the data science. So when you look at the job trends for data scientists and statisticians, the data science is in the ascendancy. No doubt for that. So according to the data from the job search website, Indeed.com, there were barely any job postings for data scientists before 2011. It started the momentum after 2011. So, but by 2021, you will see just within a span of some 10 years, the demand for data scientists has surpassed the demand for the statisticians. I can show you a chart for the some about 15 years here. You can see this green represents that of the statisticians. So very great demand for the statisticians. But you can see 2011 onwards, this data scientist demand for data scientists jumped up. And then you can see by 2013, it overtook, almost reached there. And then you can see the way they were dominating now. So the data scientists. And now you can see by 2000, say 2021, you can see a vast difference between the demands for data scientists and statisticians. Okay, so the data scientist jobs are more lucrative in India too. According to the Glassdoor, the national average salary, you can just Google it and get Glassdoor, you will get the salary for each profession. So you can see the national average salary for data scientist just before the COVID time, it's about 6.5 lakhs. While in Bangalore area, it was about 5.7. So it's very good. It's very lucrative in India as well. So let us discuss why data science is in just statistics and highlight the important parts of the data science that are typically considered to be out of bounds for statistics research. So you collect the data. There are three main steps in the data science, right? So you collect the data and questions, of course, analyze it using visualization and models, then communicate the results. Okay, so this is the main difference. I will just tell you this visualization part. So visualization and modeling, any real data analysis involves data manipulation, visualization, and modeling. So visualization and modeling are complementary. Visualization, certainly visualization means what? You get the data, plot it, and get the visuals. Okay, now you can, this can help refine vague questions. However, visualization rely on human interpretation. So the ability to scale is fundamentally constrained. But models scale much better, and it is usually possible to throw more computing at the problem. But models are constrained by their assumptions. Fundamentally, a model cannot surprise you. But the vast majority of statistics research is on modeling, but much less on the visualization part. So this is the essential difference between them. So the end product of an analysis is not a model, certainly. An analysis is meaningless unless it convinces someone to take action. So in business, this typically means convincing your senior manager who have little statistical expertise. So we had to report it in simple language. In science, it typically means convincing the reviewers, right? You have to convince the reviewers. And the communication is not a mainstream thread of statistics research. So we now require all these things. So in business, analysis are often not done just once, but you have to redo that, need to be performed again and again as new data come in. So this data products need to be robust in both the statistical sense. That is, when you underlying distributions are changed, it should be the same. And in the software engineering sense also, that is to changes to the underlying technological infrastructure. So it is a very ripe field of research. Okay, so statistics from its serious beginnings around 100 years ago, the statistical approach has contributed significantly to the development in a range of physical and human sciences, including physics, astronomy, engineering, biology, psychology, medicine, and so on. And the professional statistician is well established and generally well respected and rewarded. So, statistics are everywhere. They shape the understanding of ourselves and society. The knowledge that advances the government, business, and people of a country is founded on a good, trustworthy statistics. That is very important, trustworthy statistics. That is official statistics. The quality of the national statistics has a direct impact on national life also. And it affects decisions made in both public and private sectors, made by large and small organizations as well as individuals. And also, statistics provide most of our evidence for making decisions and judging performance. And this makes it crucial for our statistics to be reliable and at the same time relevant. You may recall the wordings of the father of modern statistics, Sir R.A. Fisher. To call the statistician after the experiment is done may be no more than asking him to perform a post-mortem examination. He may be able to say what the experiment died of. See, this is the, so before starting the experiment, one should consult the statistician. Now, you have seen some of the skills that make the student stand apart. That is, this is for future statisticians. What are required for a the so-called data scientist or a modern statistician? The ability to look at the data for business use, number one. Able to communicate in cross-cultural team. You may recall many of our students had some trouble in this earlier when some campus placements were held in the university. Able to communicate in cross-cultural team. Good analytical ability. That means you must have a very sound knowledge in your subject and also the good analytical ability. And there is no compromise for hard work. Hard work, no substitute for hard work. One should be very hardworking. Understand the terminologies in simple language. That is very important. And needless to say, the principle, the KISS principle, keep it simple and simple. Okay, so these are the skills. So what data scientists do? The data scientists fish out answers to business questions. They are looking at signals rather than focusing on noise, right? Almost most of the time, the prediction, average, right? So they are looking at the average or the mean. They're looking at the signals, not focusing on the noise, because the business people are interested in this kind of a prediction. Now, make discoveries while swimming through the data and converse with the data. You examine data, cross-examine data. Let us recall the famous talk by Professor C.R. Rao about the importance of, that is also mentioned in his book also, the need for examination and the cross-examination of the data. So these are all very important aspects. So we have a new insight. What is the insight here? Create enthusiasm and interest in statistics. So we, the statistics community, are bound to do this. So the students should be made to think. Now, has to be strong in mathematical science, statistics, mathematical statistics. Should have soft skills along with the several other things, the basic knowledge. So a typical new student is a hybrid of data hacker in the good sense, not bad sense, should be a good analyst and also a good programmer. So this kind of an all-round performance is required. So the statistician's new phase is that of big data. With the 4 V's, I have already mentioned about the volume, the variety, and the velocity, and the veracity, the uncertainty inherent in the data. And we have several carriers. I don't think I will get time to talk about this. Maybe we can discuss some aspects of the data scientists, how one can get into this data scientist job later. So we have several career opportunities. Every country, you know, own statistical agencies and bureaus are there. For instance, in our country, apex body of the official statistics system is the Department of Statistics in the Ministry of Planning and Program Implementation. And we have representations from, in our alumni, representation from these organizations. So this department acts as the nodal agency for the planned development of the country's statistical system. It comprises the Central Statistical Organization, the National Sample Survey, NSSO, etc. This body also administers the Indian Statistical Institutes, the most prestigious statistical studies institute in the country. And at the same time, people are generally students are too afraid to learn sometimes, right? So the attitude towards statistics as a barrier to learning statistics to acquiring quantitative skills. So quantitative skills are important for social science students to study and understand social reality. Many teachers, especially teaching at the to the say the economics students or commerce students will experience that. So the students, however, tend to avoid quantitative methods, that they even fear them. So this negative feeling of students having towards statistics is termed as a statistics anxiety. So this is a well accepted term now. Statistics anxiety in social science and also psychology. Now, several studies are there understanding this anxiety. I have looked into this particular study, a longitudinal analysis held in Barcelona, Spain, some time ago. The remedy proposed in this study is introduction of quantitative methods throughout the curriculum, increase the students' interest in statistics, and can foster learning and long-term retention. So what is the message? You try to introduce the statistics at an early stage, possibly at the secondary level or higher secondary level. So this is the idea. So in fact, in our state, we have gone ahead with these proposals. Now there are different reasons for the this one. The students perceive statistics as the worst course taken in the college, or inherently uninteresting, quite difficult, and like immunization injections they received, they just attend the classes and then get some ideas. Okay, so and also sometimes the students are scared to death by the ideas because of the negative experience, and there are obviously some horror stories they get from their senior students about the subject. So we should get rid of this by proper dealing of this particular psychological problem. Certainly, you have to make some awareness about the power and impact of statistics, and also enthuse the students more towards statistics. So in that way, you can inculcate some kind of interest in the students. So remember, it is certainly the hottest job of the current century and the demand of the time. And we have several statistical sciences. For instance, you can just take them through the statistical sciences, the transformation of science, business, and industry. We will just recall what is the role of statistics in different branches. Let me just take your attention to this wordings. The Ernest Rutherford Nobel Prize in Physics in 1908, he said, if your experiment needs statistics, you ought to have done a better experiment. And these are the legacy we have. And also Albert Einstein said Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921, God doesn't play dice. And Albert Michelson, one of the first scientists to discover that more data doesn't resolve ambiguities. There was a feeling that if you have more data, that will resolve the ambiguity. But he's the inventor of the interferometer for measuring, used for measuring the velocity of light. He also won Nobel Prize in Physics in 1907. And Carl Pearson, one of the first to change the traditional thinking. It was the probability distribution of the things that was real. The distribution is described by the parameters that can only be estimated from the data. There were methods for estimation, but were not the best at that time. But later, so many improvements came up, and the Pearson's distributions did not cover all the situations, but the situation is vastly changed now. So also we can see the first two industrial statisticians, for instance, the William Seeley-Gosset and also the A.K. Erlang, the pioneer in the queuing theory, A.K. Erlang. And also R.A. Fisher, father of modern statistics, the design of experiments, important contributions to estimation, hypothesis testing, mathematical foundations of statistics, agricultural science, genetics, biological and medical sciences. Several interesting areas. And also after that, several of his co-workers contributed much towards the studies in crop variation. For instance, all are familiar with the ANOVA, analysis of covariance, ANCOVA. So these all came up. Then factorial design came into use, profound impact on the agricultural sciences. And also at the same time, soon after, during 1970s, a lot of applications of the design of experiments came into the engineering field as well. Now more than 75% of the application is in the chemical engineering and other fields. So, and also we have three others who changed the industrial world. For instance, the Walter W.A. Schwartz, his Schwartz cycle, the plan, do, check. This is the quality cycle really. Even when it comes to the NAAC accreditation cycle also, this is what is proposed as a, they refer to the Schwartz cycle each time from one cycle to another one. So plan, do, check, and then improve from each stage. Now also the Edward Deming, the fundamental contribution to sampling theory, and his philosophy was about the organizational change. And these are the real people. So Joseph M. Juran, he emphasized a strategic planning approach to the quality improvement. In fact, the Juran trilogy, the planning, improvement, control, and also it's a breakthrough, is the project approach proposed by Juran. And the GURUSA sampling, the Herald of Doming and Romig, put inspection of product and materials on a scientific basis, quantified risk, and they were both instrumental in standards writing. There are standards named after this. And I need her to talk about Professor P.C. Mahalanobis, the father of Indian statistics. He believed that statistics should be an integral part of the dynamics of the national planning. And he was acutely aware of the national problems and the national resources. And needless to mention about the key role in formulating India's second 5-year plan based on the 4-sector model developed by him. And the Mahalanobis and the statistical system in India, he played a pioneering role in the official statistics, the NSSO, the central CSO, an apex body for coordination of the statistical activities in the country. And Professor C.R. Rao, one would hardly be able to point out an area in which he didn't contribute. And also, I am not talking about all contributors really, just a handful of them. So Sir David Cox, a prominent British statistician. You may recall recently in 2016, its International Prize in Statistics is awarded for survival analysis model applied in medicine, science, and engineering. And he won the prize specifically for the proportional hazard model contributed by him. So in fact, the International Prize in Statistics, the first award won by him, the highest honor in statistics. That is Dr. Cox, David Cox. And of course, some milestones, statistics of extremes, Tippett and Gumbel, Mahalanobis, Anderson, multivariate analysis. If you go back to the development, you can see Mann, Whitney, Wilcoxon, the non-parametric statistics, the Weibull distribution, Nancy, Mann, reliability engineering, Then the code breaking by good empirical base, right? The empirical hierarchical base models. Then the Bishop's National Health and Study log linear models. So we are now all using this very extensively nowadays. And also the Kaplan-Meier product limit estimator, the Cox pH model, these are all recorded as breakthroughs in statistics. You can see in the book Breakthroughs in Statistics, these are all mentioned, the Kaplan-Meier product limit estimator as well as the Cox proportional model. And also the Cox transformations, the Tukey's fast Fourier transformations, then exploratory data analysis, the generalized linear models, generalized estimating equations, data mining, etc. and etc. Now the big data and also several important issues in the official statistics. So these are some of the milestones there and suddenly we have several influential areas precipitated out of this. One started from your earlier mathematical statistics, then we have demography, actuarial statistics, engineering statistics, biometry, econometrics, psychometry, environment metrics, then chemometry. It's an application of statistics in chemistry, spatial statistics, energy statistics, business statistics, statistical physics, data mining, and machine learning. Now, astrophysics started in 2010, official statistics, and several other fascinating areas precipitated out of the influence of statistics in different sciences. So a new environment, statisticians are needed more than ever, micro experiments, lot of data points, many parameters, particle physics, biotechnology, space technology, quantum effect, microelectronic devices, massive data sets in astronomy, biology, medicine, social fronts, business, and commerce. Lots of people, non-statisticians use also, some of them do formal teaching in statistics. This was some of the issues raised in the last general body meeting also. Right? So applications in services, transactional business, logistics, supply chain are growing, maybe faster than those in R&D and manufacturing. The statistical thinking and knowledge discovery in management decision making is becoming as important as the actual use of statistical methods. So we have the data-driven decision making. So if you look at the history, statistical quality control, design of experiments, started in the 1920s, 1950s, then came operation research in 1940s, the value engineering, zero defects in 1950s, then the FDA and Environmental Protection Agency in 1970s, then the TQM, Total Quality Management in 1980s, Business Process Engineering in 1980s, Six Sigma in 1987, and commercial applications came, banking and finance, public sector, service including healthcare. Now the design and Six Sigma, design for Six Sigma, DFSS. We are not tolerating even one out of a million bad products or defective products. So that is a kind of a assurance that you give for the quality. So the link business, suppliers, customer together. Earlier there were inventories. Now we require the supply chain, starting from the raw material until the finished product, how we manage. So the link business, suppliers, customers together. So the logistics and the supply chain. So the role of computing, while assessing the current influence of computing on statistics, we are greatly excited by the effects of developments in hardware, statistical software and languages, and other aspects of IT. And a general position of statistics has seen today in the 21st century a period of rapid development in many directions. That is why I call the statistical sciences now. So statistics may be specified in various ways, but from the present perspective may be taken to have 3+1 linked pillars. First is the mathematics of probability. Second is the general principles for the design of investigations. Okay, and third is the general principles for the analysis and interpretation of investigations. You can include the testing, estimation, decision theory, and so on in this area, in this group. And there is tempting to be a next pillar, that is the official statistics, the administrative statistics. So this is a general position of statistics. Now, let me ask this question: does statistics have a role? So we have started from the ancient time, deterministic setup, and the enhanced belief in determinism was there. Then they came chaotic. That is, the initial condition can even change everything, right? So, for instance, can the flap of a butterfly wing in Sri Lanka set off a tornado in South India? That is a chaos. A very light disturbance at the start can give rise to a very chaotic situation, right? So that is the chaotic situation. We have the stochastic theory. Is this going to rain? So statistics has become a vital part of many fields, as we have just now seen. Is it over? Have we had our run? Certainly not. It grows on all fronts. So a healthy statistics discipline must have external need for answers in the area of the discipline, evidence of past successes in answering these questions, and 3, ongoing output of new ideas. So yes, but we must have internal development of the field. That is, the statistical methodologies are to be developed. At the same time, we should have interaction with the real problems. In fact, many of the triumphs of the past arose from the interaction with the real problems. For instance, the Gossett, Fisher, Short, Box, and others. See the contribution. So without focus on real problems, statistics will die or at least lose relevance. So bereft of its applications, statistics is indeed a boring subject. So this is the reason why several students complain about statistics. So how to increase the power of statistics? Okay, recall what we learned in our old physics class. A force F acting through a distance S performs work. Okay, that means W is F into S. So how do you measure the force work? How do you measure this work? So it's a power. So power is a measure how fast the work is done. So power means W by T, or it is Fs by T. So what it means? So if you want to increase the power of statistics, that means more force will give you more power because it is in the numerator. More distance will give you more power. But T is in the denominator. That means a shorter time will obviously give you more power. So what is the summary now? So how well can we apply forces to our opportunities? That will increase the power. How much leverage distance can we generate? How much progress you can bring in, right? So that will increase the power. And at the same time, how quickly you can apply it in short period of time, right? So, well, students and friends, let us follow it in the best interest of this science of uncertainty and data. So with this, let me conclude. Thanks for your patient listening, and I would like to have your remark or any queries. I would be very glad to take it up. Thank you for your patience listening again.